Our new sponsor Better is a fast-growing daily fantasy sports app. Sign up today with promo code Playbook to receive two $100 no-sweat tokens for a limited time only. Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. LeBron finally made a decision. All the watches are done. There's no disgruntled stars right now. I think we could finally wrap up this free agency. How have your last couple of weeks been on LeBron watch and Summer League watch?
It's been really fun. Yeah, it's been it's one of those things. I bought 2K26 recently because it was on sale, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, it's nice to have the new 2K. And now I'm like, I really want to buy 27 because I'm gonna really want the updated rosters.
Yep. This is one of the years where it's like it's gonna really matter because we finished the last time we spoke, Giannis and LaMelo. LaMelo was on Minnesota, got traded to Minnesota, and that was like kind of like the big moves. But since then, we have a plethora of moves to go through, and yeah, I could imagine the next year in 2K is gonna look just completely different than what it did this year. First thoughts though, like what do you think the reason is for that? You think it's because of this parity era? You think it's because a lot of teams feel like they're a couple of moves away, or you think it's just a lot of these teams and players ran their courses with where they were?
I think if you're gonna point to like one thing, I think it's the CBA. I think it's the second apron, and that's kind of like you look at like the Boston situation of Tatum and Brown being broken up because they take up too much of the cap. That's kind of what I think has kind of created this parity era, and then everything else I think plays into it as well. Like teams are on the cusp because there's so much talent in the league that you are just like a superstar away quite often. There's not a lot of teams to like dump contracts on, or teams that you're like right away going to say that's going to be the worst team in the league next year.
Right.
Maybe Sacramento, but like it's hard to say. And then guys, time kind of like runs its course. So we've had so much movement, and it's like it's superstar movement, and it's just really kind of changing a lot of things. It's one of those eras where I think a lot of teams and a lot of fan bases are going to be able to go into next year and say, if it breaks our way, we legitimately have a chance at a championship, not just like a deep run at championship. And I think a lot of fan bases will be able to say that.
And I wonder how much of that is like, it's the CBA. I wonder how much of that is like Knicks winning last year as being one of those teams that weren't really thought of going into the year as like a contender. But certainly finishing the year, they were the best team in the NBA. So I wonder if like that gave some hope to some of these teams are like, you know what, our roster, it didn't matter more about like how our roster looks versus like the talent that we have and how can we match up versus different teams. Which I think is what played a part in some of these teams feeling like, okay, if we just make one or two moves here, we can. Of course, the CBA, like you mentioned with Jaylen Brown, that definitely played a huge factor with that move in particular, and even stuff like the what OKC has been doing with cutting, kind of like trading Dort, kind of staying below the second apron, so the luxury tax so that they don't have to pay out crazy amount of money for when they do have to pay all their guys. So yeah, I think those factors for sure, and yeah, just the ability to be closer to a championship. I guess we could start here with we'll go in order from what we last talked about. So I think the first thing would be the Ja Morant going to Portland. What were your first reactions on that?
A lot of guards in Portland. Yeah, a lot of guards in Portland. It just makes them really unbalanced. Portland's weird. I was hearing today that like they're talking about maybe even like moving the team. Yeah, Portland is a strange situation right now. They got so much talent, but it might all go sideways. They might be in contention for worst team in the league next year, which would be
and they were like
awful.
A play-in team like last year. Yeah, right? They're like just on the cuff of a play-in berth. So it is stranger the way that they went, but I understand like trying to get into talent when you can. It's just to me, the trade didn't make so much sense for them because of all the guards that they had. And I thought for sure we're going to get like a follow-up trade of, oh, Drew's going to be moving somewhere else, or one of these Scoot's going to go somewhere else.
Scoot's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, or one of these guys going somewhere else. But it looks like they're committed to playing all these guys and figuring out how to play like 4 guards, which is wild. Didn't work for Sacramento years ago when they had that same issue. They got rid of everyone.
Again, everyone.
So I'm not too sure how this is going to work out. I guess for Ja, it probably feels good to get in a fresh environment to like reestablish who he is again. I do wish it was like on a different team, but it is what it is, and we're going to see how they are able to play this out.
Yeah, I'm excited for Ja. I still think he's got it.
Me too.
I think he's got it. He's not like crazy super got it, but like he's still a star, you know. And I think Portland got like a screamer of a deal just on like talent. I think they got a screamer, and I think he just wanted out of Memphis, and it's a shame that it went down that way, and Memphis got like so little in return. But you know, I'm a Raptors fan. Vince forced his way out. I know all about it.
Yeah, sometimes you're not going to get what you want for this. I mean, even you're just not going to get what you want for the start, especially when you wait so long. Imagine Bucks traded Giannis a year earlier, what they could have gotten.
Imagine you traded Jaylen Brown for Paul George and 2 firsts.
Imagine you did that, which I guess we could talk about next, which happened directly after the Ja Morant trade, which was probably one of the biggest shockers to me this whole offseason, which says a lot. Saying that LeBron is a Philadelphia 76er, but this Jaylen Brown trade to Philadelphia kind of came out of nowhere in my eyes. Like we did hear about like Jaylen Brown like being shopped around and that there might be some tension there between him and the front office, but I didn't really think that they'll trade him to Philly of all teams, the team that just knocked them out of the playoffs, their rival, one of their rivals in the Eastern Conference. How'd you feel about that one when that first happened?
I was shocked to say the least. Like, and let's taking time away from it. Like Paul George, when he came back last year and he played, he was quite good.
He was good.
So like I was most shocked that they didn't get any like players back that were like really significant. I thought Jaylen Brown would get you like a Alperen Şengün, a player of that level, like maybe a 1 or 2-time All-Star, right? Fringe up and comer. And it got Paul George, and Paul George, is just coming towards the end of his career. He's on a big contract. So it's about cap relief more than anything for Boston, which, yeah, like when you dig into it, it's like fascinating because it is like CBA led more than anything else.
I think it's just a year earlier that they're really getting off of. It's not like they're getting a crazy amount of relief.
No, it's 1 year earlier, and it's costing them 2 first-round picks. Although
1 pick is good.
Although, Philly got Jaylen Brown for less than Toronto paid for Kawhi Leonard.
Currently, as the trade stands.
If he could get suspended half the year and we get him for less.
Less than or about the same as what they got for what Walker Kessler, the Lakers got Walker Kessler for.
Yes.
Which is also a wild way to look at it. I think if you're Philly, you have to make this deal. Paul George. My thing with Boston is, yes, last year they didn't have Jason Tatum for majority of the year, so now you're adding Jason Tatum back to the fold. You did get Mitchell Robinson, which is going to help your front court if he's healthy. We all know his injury history. Paul George is a good player when he's healthy, so it's not like their team is going to take a significant step back because you are adding Tatum where you're taking away Jaylen Brown. My issue, though, is with the team contract now is that Paul George isn't the type of player now that's going to break down the defense and get into the paint anymore as at this stage of his career. He's more of like a spacer. He could still create some on the perimeter, but he's not going to be killing himself to get to the basket like Jaylen Brown was. I think that's going to be a huge difference in what they needed, which is why them going for Giannis made a lot of sense to me because they needed someone who can get to the basket. That's been a struggle for Boston. They rely on this perimeter play. They rely on the inconsistency of 3-point shooting, the consistent inconsistency of 3-point shooting, and not really having that guy to like get to the basket and create other type of opportunities. So with Jaylen Brown, he at least gave you some of that. He was a willing driver and he would get to the basket. His playmaking, we can all quarrel with how good it was or not, but he would at least be one of the guys to do it. I don't see Tatum coming off of his Achilles injury doing that as much. I don't see Paul George come off of the injuries that he's had doing that as much. Derek White can only do so much in that capacity. Peyton Pritchard. I'm gonna get someone's name right today. Peyton Pritchard. He's still more of a perimeter guy. He's not breaking down defenses to get into the paint in the same type of way. So that's my biggest quarrel on why I think Boston's going to take a step back. Talent-wise, obviously, it's a step back going from Jaylen Brown to Paul George. But I think the manner of which they play does matter a lot, and maybe slightly being overlooked at this point.
Yeah, that's a good point because a lot's being made right now about like the efficiency. George is a more efficient player than Brown, right?
Yeah.
So they're like a lot of people are saying, Boston might be the same, might be better, right? They might be more efficient, might play a better game. But you're right. Once it comes down to like, you gotta break it down. You gotta get a basket. You gotta like just manufacture it in very small space. Jaylen Brown was great for that kind of stuff.
He was good at that type of stuff. And yeah, I know some of the efficiency numbers weren't in his favor, and the on-off stuff, especially some of that you can attribute to the bench just being really good. So when the bench comes in, they're just blowing out the other team's bench, and it makes your numbers look bad. As opposed to like a team like Denver, where Jokic is on the court and they're just good with Jokic off, and then when Jokic is off the court, their bench doesn't hold up at all. So his on-off numbers are going to look much better. So I think it's kind of the reverse effect happening for Jaylen Brown, which kind of made some of his advanced metrics not look as good as they should. But he's a 30-point per game scorer. Like that's not easy to find, no matter how you slice it. So I think that's going to be lost on them. I do think like his intensity on both ends of the court is going to be unlost, even though if he's not like the premier defender, he is a good defender who prides himself on defense. I don't think Paul George at this stage of the career prides himself on that anymore. So it'll be interesting to see how Boston does play out this season, and we will talk about it a little bit later about like if they're going to make our top 6 in the East this year, or if not, with the moves that they've made. I do think the Mitchell Robinson was a good move, a good pickup to kind of like balance out their roster. They had a weak front court last year, and this is one step in the right direction there. So lots of things to think about when it comes to Boston.
Yeah, it's and it's funny just because of how much the East has changed. It's really hard to kind of like grade the East. You'll often see, you'll just be on your social medias and you'll see polls like, oh, Boston, like where are they as a team? Like contender, 2 to 4, 5 to 6, plan, right? And generally you're choosing like, I don't know, 4 to 6 generally, right? But you're doing that with almost every team in the East.
Yeah.
It's really hard to rank the East, especially when you start considering like who's gonna be in and out of the play-in. There's a lot of talent over there now, and Boston might fall victim to that, right? Detroit might fall victim to just Indiana, just talent in the East.
You look at even a lesser team like Washington wants to win next year. They didn't want to trade Anthony Davis for any of these teams. They extended Trae Young. They deliberately went and tried to get AJ this year. Like they want to win this year. They're not going to be an easy out as much as we always look at Washington as an easy out. They're going to try and win.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think of Washington as a good team now. And I think of Atlanta as a good team. And I think of Charlotte as a good team.
Charlotte too, yeah.
I find it hard to think of a bad team in the East right now.
It's just Brooklyn.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Brooklyn. It's just Brooklyn.
Like even the Bulls are trying some things. Like Bucks are rebuilding, but they still have like some promising like young hope there. The Hornets are trying to take a step in the right direction. They've moved off of some stuff to try and be more solidified as a young core there with Knipple and Miller. So the Nets, the Nets is the only team to be like are actively not trying to win next year. But yeah, the East is going to be a full on bloodbath, and helping that the other part of this Boston trade was Philly getting Jaylen Brown, but Jaylen Brown going to Philly also led to LeBron going over to Philly, as he mentioned in his post, or Rich Paul mentioned in one of his many things that he said. I mean, he's contradicted himself all over the place about what teams are what, which with Rich Paul. But I think one thing is for certain, though, is that I do believe that Philly was not an option until Jaylen Brown was traded there.
Yeah, Philly wasn't exciting until Jaylen Brown was traded there. And, they took Boston to 7 and beat them, right? Like, Philly wasn't awful last year, but they just weren't like exciting.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown went there. They got this excitement behind them. And yeah, it kind of, I mean, LeBron to Philly is like wild to me. It's not the space I thought he would go to. It's just not the team I thought he would go to. But then you think about it and you're like, it's not a bad fit. It's not a bad fit, but like, yeah, I don't know. LeBron and the 76ers, it really doesn't feel right. Like LeBron and the Lakers felt right.
I feel like every time LeBron has one of these decisions, the team he picks leaves me like, why? Like I felt that way with the Lakers. I felt like, why are you going to the, like, okay, sure, you want to like do your movie thing, because there wasn't a team set up there when he first got there. They had to trade for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis wasn't there as yet. The Philly thing is the same thing to me. Is like, I get the talent. So I think the one consistent thing though, outside of the Lakers signing, was that he would go to the team with the most talent. And with the Lakers, he assumed that he was going to be able to get Anthony Davis or a second star. I think Kawhi was rumored at the time to go there. So I think he was pretty certain that he'll be able to pull another star over to the Lakers. So he's always going where the talent is. And the talent, I guess, would be with Philly. Like you do have Tyrese Maxey, you do have Jaylen Brown, you do have DJ Edgecombe, you do have Embiid when healthy there. So you do have like a talented team there. To take a step back would be the defense and the ball, like who handles the ball and when. Like if they can all figure out that, like Jaylen Brown, one of the things that we know that he wasn't, I wouldn't say upset about, but he was looking for a new opportunity in which he could be more of a leader of the team, an offensive engine, which he got to be last year in Boston. Maxey has grown into that for Philly. He's used to that in Philly now. Like last year, like even with Embiid there, Maxey was primarily the guy who had the ball majority of the time. VJ's trying to find his fit on the court. Embiid, when he's playing, needs touches. LeBron operates best as like a ball handler at this stage in his career, instead of a play finisher, which is why I thought him going to Miami made a lot of sense, because that's all he would have been. He would have been a playmaker, and he wouldn't have to worry about defense. They would have had that covered. But yeah, so that's my only reservation with this Philly thing, is that I'm not too sure who gets the ball and when. I'm sure like these are all high IQ players, so I'm sure they'll figure it out like throughout the season. But I don't think it's going to mesh as quickly when just to start. And they do need a backup big still, because you just have Embiid there, who's not going to be there.
Yeah, they're like capped out.
They're capped out. They lost Andre Drummond. He went to New York to fill up Mitchell Robinson's position there. So I'm worried about their front court. I'm worried about the depth, and I'm worried about like how the offense does look with all of them together, since they all kind of need the ball in their hands.
I'm not so worried about the depth necessarily. I think it's just the depth of the front court.
Depth of the front court, yeah. The guard depth is good. They have
guard depth is good. Like KCP went there today. They got
Simmons.
They got Simmons. They got Phylon. They did get Dean Wade, but he's I guess he could play center in a super pinch, but like he's not the guy that you want to play center. Like he's a wing.
He's a wing. He's not a center. And I heard talk about like putting LeBron at center. I'm like, that's just not gonna work. Like you just
don't play LeBron at center. He's 41 years old.
Yeah.
They need to get like a Nick Richards, just like a minimum contract, trustable body. But they could also, Dean Wade's there. I was gonna say they could use another forward, but they let Trendon Watford go. They just let him go. And it's kind of strange because they could use that forward. They could have used him. It's tough. They're right up against, they're hard capped, and they're like right up against it. Like Braun has to like wait to sign his contract or something. It's strange, but it's gonna work out, but it's gonna be weird.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird, but yeah, that should be good. And the expectations are going to be there for them. Now, too, which is I wonder how they handle it because they're not going to be
They
like
got to be tier 1 with the Knicks, right?
yeah, they got to be with the Knicks. They got to be expected to be in a conference finals now.
Yeah.
At this point, at the minimum, they should be in the finals. But a conference finals is probably where they're expecting to at least head to, since they haven't been out of the second round since Allen Iverson. So that'll be the test for them. But it'll be exciting for the East though. All of these moves happening in the East, and another one happened after the Jaylen Brown one, which was Kawhi to Toronto.
So Kawhi to Toronto actually happened before Jaylen Brown.
Ooh, just before.
Just before.
Yeah. Hasn't been finalized yet.
Because I was so on the last podcast, I was like, "Oh, Kawhi's too old. I don't want him to come back to Toronto." Scratch all that. Kawhi's back, baby. It's amazing. Life's great. Gonna win it all. Trade is on hold. Nah, he went to a summer league game. Like Kawhi's coming to Toronto.
He's invested in Toronto.
Yeah, it's happening. It's just, are we getting a second rounder back? You know. My first initial reaction to Jaylen Brown though was Raptors paid more for Kawhi. And they apparently finished like back-to-back in MVP voting. So either the Raptors are bad at negotiating, or Kawhi is just like a better player, perhaps. I'm gonna hang my fandom on that. Like, Kawhi's better. His efficiency makes him a better player, even at his more advanced age.
I would say last season Kawhi was a better player.
Kawhi was amazing last season,
but that's one season. He's
I don't think he's
older.
Do that again, though. Yeah,
age is not working against. Was working against him. But in a series, I'm taking Kawhi. I'll take Kawhi over Jaylen Brown. But
yeah, in a series, and that's probably what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you make the playoffs, and it comes down to a couple games.
Yeah.
Right. And Kawhi is just more efficient in all of those situations, at least historically.
Yeah, and when you look at it from like the Toronto perspective, they give away the big name they give away there is Brandon Ingram, which they just got a year ago. I'm too finicky with the touch mouse. Yeah, they gave away Brandon Ingram, but what they wanted in Brandon Ingram was a guy an ISO scorer who can kind of take the tough shots and make Scotty more of a playmaker and do more of the offensive, which they got the ultimate guy in Kawhi to do that for now, which is like I think the best guy in that role. He can do it from all levels. He can get you free throws. He can play make someone he needs to. He kind of fills in any role. He doesn't feel too imposing on the offense. Like it doesn't feel like it becomes Kawhi ball, even though it kind of does, but it doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean? It kind of happens like throughout the offense, and then it's just like, oh, Kawhi has the ball and he's gonna do his thing now. Type of thing.
Oh, he's holding it a little bit longer than everybody.
Yeah.
And he's looking everyone off because he's just gonna shoot
It's quiet time now. But I think him with Scotty Barnes, especially defensively, is gonna be exciting to watch. I don't like I hear a lot of the criticisms from Miami and their shooting. I feel the same way with Toronto. I'm not too sure like the shooting and where the offense is coming from outside of like Scotty and Kawhi when we look at it.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Like we need to be fair to Quickly. Quickly's still a good player and he's still a good shooter, and he is a volume shooter. You want him to shoot more threes, but he was good last year, right? He was just hurt a lot last year. RJ Barrett's going to get you 20 points, and he's probably going to scale up when like Kawhi's out of the game, right? Because that's the nice thing about RJ is he can scale up and scale down his role. You'll get offense from like Colin Murray Boyles, and you'll get offense from like Jacoby Walter, and you'll get it from like the rookie. You'll get something from Jakob Poeltl. Guys who can shoot would be like Kawhi. Jacoby Walter can shoot. Jamison Battle. If they signed Seth Lundy out of Summer League, that's another shooter. And then, Quickly is a shooter. Scotty and RJ can hit shots. And that's kind of how it goes throughout the rest of it, right? Like they're never going to masquerade as a shooting team. They're not the Hornets by any means. They're not the Warriors by any means, but there's something else. They're that toolsy 6'8" mess of a team that's just going to be able to switch on you everywhere, and everyone's going to be able to shoot, dribble, pass, just even if it's a little bit. there aren't a lot of players with full deficiencies on the Raptors. So they're going to be an interesting team. They're probably going to be in that 4 to 6 range, and just
like all the other teams.
Competitive with everyone, right?
Yeah, no, I see that for them too. Like I think the defense is going to be something they can hang their hat on, and they'll be fine throughout the entire year. And the offense is just something that they'll work on throughout the year, and at some point it's gonna click, and then everything's gonna look good on that side. And I do have faith in, like, I think this really settles Scotty down. Like even though you had Ingram there before, and you had RJ there before, just having a presence of Kawhi really makes Scotty be like, okay, I can trust this guy to be my scorer. I can do everything else that I like to do on the basketball court. I can play make. I can be the defensive playmaker. I can be a cutter. I could be a slasher. I can do all these other things now. Like it opens me up to be the fullest version of what I'm supposed to be, because I don't have to worry about also being your main scorer.
Yeah, absolutely. And the games that Kawhi's out, maybe we get that playoff Scotty where he is very forceful and he's driving the offense and the defense, and he's doing his best. He's doing his best Giannis impression.
Yeah, he had a terrific playoff series too. Like that was like one of the a really good playoff series. Like he took them to 7, basically on his back more or less. So he's definitely ready for the next step, and I think that's why we have a lot of faith in Toronto being in that 4 to 6 ranges, because of the Scotty growth and where he is as a player right now.
Yeah, I think so. It's certainly, it's having experienced a championship season now. It's nice to be back into the expectation is conference finals, championships, right? It is nice. It's nice to feel that way again as a fan, right? Like I'm a big fan of like rookies and development, so I always enjoy that. Alan Graves is going to be who I hang my hat on for a little while, but it feels good. As I said earlier, like in the show, like a lot of fan bases are going to be excited. It feels good to be a Toronto Raptors fan right now. Much like, like I talk a lot about how I really wanted Miami to make the big deal, because I feel like Miami should be talked about in the same way as like Boston and the Lakers, and being one of those premier NBA franchises. And they can only do that by having like talent on the team. Like, you'll remember the Lakers before LeBron got there. They were kind of a weird afterthought, and it didn't make a lot of sense for the Lakers to be spoken about that way, because it was like Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, right? That was the Lakers.
Yeah,
and
Josh
they were like year
so
1
weird.
and 2. Yeah. So like it's really nice to see Miami like get Giannis and get like super relevant again, and it's got to feel good as a fan, just like it feels good to be a Raptors fan right now. And even listen, a lot of Raptors fans are like doom balling themselves. So like, what if the Kawhi thing doesn't happen?
Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening.
Even if the Kawhi thing, for whatever reason, doesn't happen, they void his contract. Let's say worst case scenario, he's gonna sign with the Raptors.
Yeah, so that he can sign a mega extension next year.
Yeah, he's just gonna end up on like no matter what happens, he'll be wearing a Toronto jersey.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident with no intel that's gonna happen.
Zero intel, but yeah, I just like I can't imagine it going any other way. I mean, it is the NBA, but I still can't imagine it going any other way.
One last like little trade in the East before we talk about the East in a whole. I do want to talk about the Warriors too, because they have like significant falling out from not getting LeBron in this, I feel, as well. Yeah. But I think one trade to just wrap up the East was the Atlanta trade, where they traded for Dort. They've also traded for Aaron Wiggins earlier in the offseason, but the Dort one where they trade 3 seconds for Dort. And Ryan Nembhard, which are two, like, Dort is a great defender. We know what Dort does on defense and what he provides on the end of the court. And when he can hit threes, he does hit three. When he can hit threes, he's hitting threes. He's just an ultimate plus for your team, which on this Atlanta team seems to be one of those scrappy defense. You have Dyson Daniels there, you have N'Keal Richards there, you have Jaylen Johnson there, just a scrappy defensive team. I think he fits that well. I like Ryan Nembhard too as a backup point guard, as a like third option point guard there. I think that's a nice little sneaky pickup. And all they lose is Zakari Rashashe. and he goes to Dallas, and Dallas seemed like they actually I think I heard somewhere that Dallas actually initiated this, so they wanted Zachary as one of their guys. So, how'd you feel about this trade when it went down?
I was shocked, right? Because Ricochet was like first overall pick, and he ended his rookie season really well, like really well. Like he finished second in rookie of the year to Castle, and he went into his sophomore year, and everybody was like, "Yeah, Ricochet, like this guy's gonna like he's got the tools. He's 6'8", you know, he's great in transition." His shooting took a step back last year, but his sophomore season, you know, things happen, right? Like development bumps happen. I think more than anything, it's just like he feels a bit overpaid because he's the first overall pick, and he's giving you maybe like, I don't know, 20th overall pick production. But he's still got a lot of upside. And I think that's what Dallas is looking at, is like, look, like our team is built around a 19-year-old, right? Like we've got time to see if Ricochet is more than Ryan Nembhard, you know? Yeah. And I think he will be. I think he's still going to be a better player than Ryan Nembhard. Sorry, Ryan. You're going to be an amazing NBA player. But like it's amazing sometimes like what talent gets traded for, you know. It feels like guys are being moved around a lot right now for like less than it had been in the past. And guys are valued a lot differently, right? Like, you know, I was telling you off air, microwave scorers such as like Jonathan Kuminga and like Benedict Mathurin are having real trouble signing contracts. But these are just like the modern day like Julius Randles and like, you know, Brad Beals, you know. And those guys used to get paid. Like they got paid. And so like it's not crazy when like Kuminga's, you know, agent is like, hey, you know, we're gonna hold out. We think you can get paid, right? But now he'll be lucky to make $10 million, which
Cam
is
Thomas.
Crazy for like an early 20s 6'7", 6'8" forward who can throw down awesome dunks on his own, you know.
The Cam Thomases of the world, they're not getting. He's not even on the team right now. Like
he's not even in the league. Yeah, he got cut, and nobody picked him up, and he scores 20 a game.
Yeah, it's
right.
Yeah, the time for you have to this day and age, because the offense is so plentiful. You just have to have something on the other. You have to have something else. You got to either be a playmaker. You got to be able to defend. You can't just rest your hat on scoring the basketball anymore, because they'll manufacture ways of scoring now in the NBA. They'll figure out a way to get buckets. So you can't just be that guy, and we can't rely on just those guys anymore. Like, I mean, that was kind of the issue with Tyler Herro. Like, even though he does have some playmaking like chops, he can play make some. It's still not always winning basketball when he's your lead offensive engine. If he's like your third or fourth guy, sure, that works out well. But when he's like your first guy that you have to rely upon to create your offense, if you're not like Trae Young, it's really difficult.
Yeah. It's an interesting time, and the CBA does this every time you have a major change to the CBA. You end up, it takes like a year or two, but you end up with ripple effects on the players, right? You know, I think like the last CBA hollowed out the middle class of players. It was either like you're on a max or a minimum. Or you're like an exemption max, right? And that was it. Those were the contracts. So it's becoming really interesting, and we're once again seeing guys like, you know, you saw like Victor sign for, like, he signed for a max, but he didn't sign for the super max.
Yeah, right? He's like 10 mil or 15 mil less.
Yeah, and you know, like, that's a guy that was gonna be underpaid his whole career, and now he's like further underpaid. But otherwise the math doesn't work, right? The math in the NBA is a little bit broken right now, and the players are the ones who have to be cognizant of it, and it's kind of a strange time.
Yeah, Jaylen Duren's learning that lesson right now. I think.
Yes. Yes,
I think with the CBA, like, I think if it was more so like it just costs like a percentage of the cap and the money was the same. Like, let's say you give your player the max contract and they can make whatever money they do, but it only amounts to like 25% of the cap. I think that would be a nice like little middle ground for where we are right now. Because I do think that like we got to a point where like players were just getting max contracts without having to actually negotiate. I think some negotiating needed to still be there just for like the spirit of like free agency. It was kind of like you just go to free agency and then you just handed the max. It felt like that wasn't really being like explored as much. So I understand like having that layer back into the forefront where you have to actually negotiate a proper contract. But I think it just tilted a little too far to the point where like teams can't keep their cores that they drafted anymore. Which I think for those players, if you drafted a player, I think they should at some point only account for a percentage and not the actual money that they're making towards the team. I don't know how they're going to do this in the new CBA, but I know some changes are going to come.
Sounds like you work for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
I mean, that's the team that would definitely like a switch up in that.
They would. But
Spurs,
they'd also be paying $400 million in contracts and getting to go 15 deep.
Yeah. Spurs are gonna run into that too soon. I don't know if they're gonna be able to pay all the guys that they want to pay. So,
but it's any of these teams with like a lot of like. It's funny. The Wizards and the Jazz now are both teams that are going to run into that.
You draft well and you're going to be punished for it, and that's kind of I don't know. I don't know how I feel
it's
about.
It's a weird time.
Yeah. But overall, I think it's OKC did what they needed to do. They made a offer sheet to a player today who's what was the player? Who was the player? Who I believe would be a nice like little fit for the roster as well. It's like another like nice little depth piece. Spencer Jones from the Nuggets, who played well in the playoffs last year. So they sent a little 2-year, $12 million.
And they'd be taking him away from the Nuggets.
Yeah, taking him away from the Nuggets, adding him to their team, adding to their depth since they did lose Aaron Wiggins and Dort. So they kind of need to refill some of those positions. And they also lost their shooter, Isaiah Joe, as well. So they're trying to refill some of these positions. I know they have guys creeping up already from last year. So, OKC, as it always is, seems to be rebuilding and trying to stay afloat with all their picks and all the people that they're going to eventually have to play and pay.
Yeah. OKC, it's I don't know. It's a good time to be living in Oklahoma, I think.
I think so. And the last thing here with Philly, so they end up with LeBron. But I think the teams that missed out the most on this trade was or the signing was Golden State Warriors, since they started off the offseason letting Draymond Green renounce his rights so that he could sign either a cheaper contract, but now it looks like he's going to sign like a $28 million contract, so he's going to get a little bit of a pay bump. But they did that in the hopes of signing LeBron and also trading for Anthony Davis. And they come away with none of that. They just end up now looking at re-signing Brendan Przinski and bringing back Draymond Green and more or less bringing back the same team that they had last year. How do you feel about Golden State's future this year and beyond?
I think this kind of regulates them to being a play-in team. Like, I think that's what they're going to be competing for, and probably like beyond as well. Because what does Draymond have? Like a year, 2 years, maybe left. And like, I know with Draymond, it's everything outside of the box sheet, but like he's not giving you a lot. Steph's still great, but like, it's Kristaps Porzingis, and it's an injured Jimmy Butler, and it's a rookie Axel Leichenberg, right? Like, there's stuff here. Like, if they get to the playoffs, they can make noise for sure. And I think that's kind of going to be their goal, is just get to the playoffs and see if we can make some noise, see if we get healthy at the right time, and if it works, right? And it's a strategy that a lot of teams have used, and a lot of teams are going to use this year. And it's funny because it's one of those things where like so much is based off the last year, right? So as a Raptors fan, it's like, okay, if we go into this season and Kawhi's hurt and we stumble and we barely like make the play in and we lose in the play in and stuff like that, are we going to be saying the same thing next year? Like, oh, this team's ceiling is the plan, right? So I think based on last year, I'm feeling like Golden State's ceiling is the plan. But saying that, they'll probably win the championship.
I mean, they said that about Boston last year, and then they ended up being a 2 seed, but they lost in the second round.
They were amazing. Yeah, exactly. Great. Yeah.
I'm looking at Golden State's depth chart right now, and you have Steph, Brendan, Guy Santos, Draymond Green, and Kristaps Porzingis. Like, that is just not exciting to me. If I'm which we did hear today from the Warriors that they are looking for like a post Curry era. They're looking towards building towards that now, which has me scratching my head because, like, what are you doing with Curry now? Like, in the same breath, you have reports of them trying to bring back Draymond. Why? If you're going to go into this post-Curry era, you might as well get rid of Draymond, start this thing fresh. If Curry is going to be the guy that stays and be like the quote-unquote leader, the culture bearer for your Golden State team, is that what he wants to do? Or does he want to chase another ring for like the remaining years of his career? I think they need to have a real conversation with Curry at this point, which I don't think they've ever really thought they would have to have. They've kind of pushed this back in the 20s, like the 2020s. I feel like every year it's gotten closer to like, are you going to be a Steph team or are you going to be a future team? Is it going to be Kuminga and Wiseman, or is it going to be Steph and Clay? Is it going to be Steph? It's been this debate throughout the whole 2020s, and then they end up winning a championship, and it kind of gets to be pushed back a little further. But I think at this point, like, you really got to ask yourself that hard question of, are we doing a disservice to Curry? Are we doing a disservice to ourselves? We need to restock. We need to be able to rebuild our team. This new CBA, sure, you can compete. I mean, this new draft lottery reform, sure, you can compete and still kind of get a decent lottery odds, but you still kind of want to make sure you're not too good with stuff on the court. You want to be kind of in that play-in range, which I guess they are. But I think, to be fair to Steph and his like Hall of Fame career, if he wants to go somewhere to win, if he wants to go back home to Charlotte, even, I know that used to be a thing. Maybe now is the time for them to pull that trigger.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, it's like for Golden State side, absolutely. Like, if you don't think you're gonna win, you should probably move Steph. My question is, who can afford Steph? You're probably not going to get the return. Like, you're not going to get a Giannis return for Steph right now.
No, he's a free agent next year too. So is he going to do like,
you're going to get like a Kawhi return?
Is LeBron setting a new precedent? It would be my question. He did this in 2010 where he just jumped ship and was a free agent and just went to Miami. And I was like, no one really did that up until then as a free agent. He was usually through trade. Now this year he takes a massive pay cut. Like, he's 2 years, $8 million for LeBron James. That you tell me that in like 2005 even. and I'll be calling you crazy.
He's making less than his rookie season.
Making just $1.5 million over Bronny. So, but for a guy who's had a successful career, he's done it all in the NBA. He's made all the money he has. He has millions of sponsorship money. Like, he doesn't really necessarily need NBA money in the same way that other players do. Does this set precedent for a guy like Steph next year going into a free agency being like, you know what? I just want to go to San Antonio. Like, I could take a minimum contract. I want to go to San Antonio. I want to go to Miami. I want to go to Charlotte. I want to go to wherever I want because I've done all I can. I've done all I can do for this franchise and pretty much for the NBA in total. I've revolutionized the game. I feel like at this stage in my career, I feel like I could pick and choose where I want to be and how I want to end this thing.
So that's interesting because, when you brought him up, I was like, well, like Steph, like the teams that could use Steph the most probably can't afford him. Either they've used enough assets on other players to get themselves in a position where they could use a Steph and now they don't have the assets to acquire him, or they don't have the cap space, right? Like Miami being the best example of a place that like Steph could go and it would change them from 4 to 6 to title contender straight away, right? But like, you guys couldn't do it. You can't do it. You got no assets left, and you got no cap.
Yeah. But Miami does have cap space in 2027, though. That is interesting about Miami. They do have 2027 cap space if they rig their books properly. They can, they can. If they do timing things, they can afford a max guy next year. I wouldn't anticipate Steph though. That's out of the question. Like, to me, it would be Steph on a minimum. Like, it wouldn't be like.
I mean, There's a lot of stuff we said we wouldn't see in the NBA, and then it happened.
For me, Steph seems like a Charlotte person. Like I feel like he ends his career in Charlotte.
Well, in Charlotte feels like it's just like Steph ball on steroids right now. Like if you've ever built a 2K team that is built around nothing but 3-point shooting and then decide to play the games with nothing but 3-point shooting, it'll break the game quite a lot. And it looks like Charlotte has gone this way, right? Everyone on that roster is going to shoot threes like all day long. Get them up, fast, furious, and plentiful threes. And if Steph went there, like who are you guarding? Where you got you guard Steph? Brandon Miller's open. You guard Brandon Miller, Con Knipple's open. You guard Knipple, like Nas Reed's open. Like
Nas, I keep forgetting Nas Reed went there too.
And like currently it's Kobe White. Like you guard Kobe White and all those other guys are open. Like
and just think of like the development for Con. Like Steph played with Clay for all those years. Like it'd be such a it'll be just a natural fit. Like I'm kind of rooting for that to happen and making this East even more chaotic.
The only team that I felt that you brought up that could have like maybe actually acquired Steph for like, like fit the contract and like pay out some assets was Charlotte. Like Charlotte might be the only one that could do it. They could actually like give Golden State something back for Steph. Like you're probably not getting a premier player back because they all play. Like you're not getting Brandon Miller, you're not getting Knipple, right? So you'll get something back.
You get a ton of picks.
Kobe White back.
Yeah, Kobe White and a ton of picks.
Kobe White and a ton of picks. Right? Steph wants to go win or play for happiness reasons.
Yeah,
as LeBron says.
That's his. I mean, this Philly and happy. I don't know.
I like this thing that he floated. Like maybe I'll just commute from New York.
Yeah, why are you doing
just
this?
Like
why are you in a
40-minute helicopter ride?
It's nothing. I want to be with my family, but none of my family wants to be in Philly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just say you just want to go with the most talented team. Like, just keep it simple. Yeah, but yeah, that Steph thing is gonna be quite a quick. I really do feel like the Warriors were the biggest losers in this whole LeBron thing. Like, yeah, Miami, sure, but I think they kind of had to understand. Like, they're still kind of building their team out anyway. Like, they're still waiting on. They're still waiting on like a Clay buyout. If Clay gets bought out, they'll jump on that. They're still waiting to see how this like buyout secondary market works before they fully lock in this team. They do need a playmaker, which is why LeBron would have been a pretty seamless fit for them. But I think outside of that, the other team, Cleveland, I think Cleveland kind of knew what they were as well. Like Harden opted out to, give LeBron extra money if he did decide to go to Cleveland, but that fit was still kind of weird. So same situation with Philly where you have a bunch of guys who need the ball in their hands with James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and then you would have LeBron as well. And yeah, Golden State was the other team. Minnesota would have been fun. I think that would have been amazing.
That would have been a good time.
But he wants nothing to do with the West for whatever reason right now, even though I would be inclined to say the West is a weaker conference and you should probably just go over there. But yeah, I think of all of the teams, Golden State Warriors probably had the most to lose in this situation.
Yeah, I think so. And they kind of like they bet their off season on it.
Yeah.
And now there's not a lot of optionality left. Like they're not gonna go out and try and acquire Kuminga. I think they're a team that you can say comfortably is out on Kuminga.
That would be hilarious.
Like
they could use
is a Mathurin going to change their fortunes too much? Is they're not going to acquire Jaylen Duren. Like Detroit's they're just not going to entertain that.
No,
they're like, guys, we need him. We're going to sign him. We're just trying to get him for cheap. So please don't try and sign him. Yeah. And so it's like, how does Golden State improve? Like, there's guys out there. There's Brad Beal. There's DeRozan. There's some guys, but like, not. These aren't difference makers. These are guys that you're like hoping to get like 10 good minutes out of.
You're trying to fill out
every couple
roster.
Games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Like DeMar did average 20 last year, but like we know what he is on defense, and we know that like if he's honest. A team that matters, it looks a lot different.
Yeah, right. Like he averaged 20 because nobody else was putting the,
No,
the
no one's doing that in
ball in the
Sacramento.
bucket. Yeah, right. Like, so well, I love DeMar, but he is a flawed player, right?
Yeah,
Come back to Toronto, DeMar.
come
Come
back,
back. Give us 10 good minutes.
6 men to
Yeah,
Kawhi. How would that be?
let's go. Be
Um,
good times.
before we head out of here, I do want to do like a little power ranking of the
Oh,
East. So who? I'm just gonna list out these teams here. I did have them
all
pulled up.
right.
But who do we think is gonna be our top 6 in the Eastern Conference next year?
Yeah. Okay. I
So
almost
we
have to do
have.
this as like
Let me look at the. I
as
had
like
this
its
pulled up.
own playoffs.
Because it kind of is. It kind of is like those are your playoff teams, right? Like those are your
Yeah.
teams that are locked into making the playoffs without the play-in, which I think
Yeah.
the play-in next year is just going to be ferocious in the Western Conference. And sorry, in the Eastern Conference. So we have
Okay.
Eastern Conference winners. The betting favorite. We're going by betting favorites right now. We have it
Okay.
listed as New York as first, Philly
Yeah.
second, Boston
Yeah.
third. Wow, Boston third is I did
Boston
not
third.
expect that.
Okay.
Detroit, Toronto,
Okay. Okay.
Cleveland, Miami,
Okay.
and Cleveland, Miami, Indiana, or sorry, Cleveland and Miami are tied with odds. Then you have
Yeah.
Indiana, Atlanta, Orlando, Charlotte, Washington, Chicago, Milwaukee, and the Nets in dead last.
It's kind of not bad, right? So like I would probably go Knicks 1, I would go Philly 2. I think Boston is the safest of the next bunch, right? Just because we've seen the most from them. Um, Toronto, Miami, Indiana. It's like, what are we gonna get? Because these are like stars reintroduced, right?
Yeah, we
Like
don't know what they're
Halliburton
gonna.
hasn't played with
Yeah,
Zubac yet.
yeah.
Um, Cleveland should be up there, but like I just like I don't trust them very much. Like they don't feel passionate, if that's like appropriate.
Yeah, no, it's a
Um,
hard thing to gauge, but it does feel like that this run kind of took out like this is the best that they're going to be. If it really did feel that way,
yeah,
this past run was like the absolute peak of what this build can be for Cleveland.
yeah. But like at the same time, Atlanta, Chicago, Charlotte, Orlando, any of these teams could just have like killer
Yeah,
seasons and just be like the third seed.
yeah,
And us being like, oh yeah, we should have seen it all along. Like
yeah,
Josh Giddey, he was ready.
yeah. I think the Orlando one is tough.
Orlando's tough,
They're
right?
a team that did absolutely
Same with it.
nothing this offseason. And I think they might be the team that might have to pay for that the most. Of just staying still. They're gonna have to really bank on Paulo development, Wagner coming
Yeah.
back, and them playing well together. And Jalen Suggs
Yeah.
taking another. Orlando might be my team out this year. It's really dependent on Paulo. Like I think they're going to be in the play-in.
Wow.
I know. Like I'm putting a lot of faith in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the finals before.
They got a ton of talent.
They got talent. They got Siakam. They got Zubac. Like the Zubac Siakam thing. Out of the front courts in this Eastern Conference, I think they have one of the better duos there. I think
Yeah.
it's them and the Heat, more or less, because New York doesn't really have
Yeah.
much of a front court anymore. Philly doesn't have much of a
No.
front. It's Embiid when he has his knees. Celtics front court doesn't scare me. Pistons, we saw what happened to them, to Cleveland. Toronto, their front court
Their
isn't bad,
center's so like,
but
yeah, they're
Porto
like,
isn't a bad player. And it's like
no, he's not a bad player. I think Toronto, you feel better if you're examining like the front three, not just the front two.
Yeah, if you're including the
Right.
small forward in that,
Yeah.
then they're fine.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about Toronto, like these other teams, I don't feel like they have like positional size.
No.
New York kind of does, but Philly doesn't. Boston doesn't right now, and Detroit doesn't right now. So I feel like these teams are small, but they have a big.
Yeah.
And I think that works against teams like Indiana. Indiana, I think, is going to have a field day with these teams because of the pick and roll game that they can have and how Tyrese Halliburton can like manipulate defenses if he's healthy. This is putting a lot of stock in him being like somewhat what he used to be. I feel like of all the guys who tore the Achilles, he was the one who needs his athleticism the least, which I think is good. Today, there's a video of him doing a through the legs dunk, which is positive. So that means his athleticism is somewhat back. But how this, affects future injuries, I think, is the thing that we have to watch out for. We saw when Tatum came back early last year, he was out by the playoffs because his lower body couldn't really handle the load of playing like full NBA games like that. So I think the real trick isn't like seeing how they come back in the first month. It's how they look in like 6 months down the line, and if their body can still handle like the NBA pressure and stuff like that. But if Halliburton can, I think this Indiana team is going to be a scary team for a lot of teams to face going in. I think I would put them in that 6th spot. I think I would have New York, Philly, Detroit. Yeah, those are my 3 that I'm pretty certain about. And then from there, that Boston, Miami, Cleveland, Indiana realm, I'm not too sure what happens. And one of those teams are not making the playoffs. They're going to be in the play-in.
Which is wild, right? Yeah. Just like a really good team is not going to make the playoffs in the East.
Yeah.
Like a really good team, which like weirdly enough, if that team was in the West, it would probably make the playoffs, right? Like and the West has like a great top end, but they're not very deep right now.
They're not deep. Yeah, and I felt this way about the East last year. You know, they're getting like flack last year. The East, well, not flack, but people weren't like noticing them as on par with the Western Conference. But they had a better record against the Western Conference last year. The East teams versus West teams last year. The NBA champion came from the East. I think the West is top heavy still. Like I do think that like OKC and San Antonio are going to be like your championship favorites going into the year.
Yeah.
And even these odds makers have it the same. The 2 top teams are OKC and San Antonio, and then the 3rd place team, Denver, would clock in after Miami and Indiana. After Miami, before Indiana is where they have them predicted. So that just shows you the fall off in the West right now, compared to the East, where it just seems a lot more. That parity word that we were using earlier is a lot more parity going on there in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's the old NBA is dead. Long live the new NBA.
And it's not to say that these West teams are like bad or anything. Like Denver still has like Jamal Murray and Jokic. Minnesota has LaMelo and Anthony Edwards. Lakers have Luka. Like,
I was thinking about this. I was like, man, so like to me, like Jokic and Giannis are like kind of like linked in my mind just because they went like back-to-back MVPs. They're both like big men. And I was trying to think like, is Denver a better constructed team than Miami right now? Are these guys like in almost identical situations? Like, do they have like pretty much the same odds to win the NBA Finals next year?
Then they pretty much, according to the odds makers, they do. It's like it's Miami's plus 1,000, Denver's plus 1,100.
Oh wow! Okay.
So they feel pretty evenly about that. I think that's a fair like comp. Like you have the 2-man duo with Jamal Murray and Jokic, like the classic guard big duo, and then with Miami you just have a classic like twin tower duo of 2 dominant bigs. You have like the Tim Duncan. Who am I? I'm going to say Duncan Robinson, and it's not David Robinson.
No,
David Robinson and Tim Duncan twin tower thing going on there in Miami, which is 2 different ways of building teams. But I think in the end, it's kind of similar. You have 2 main guys, and you have a bunch of role guys who are just filling out positions and hopefully going to get you over the hump there for both teams. Houston really falling off from where they were last year. They're plus 2,800 behind Golden State, which I don't know. That Sengun situation might be one to monitor as the season goes on.
Is he Toronto's Marc Gasol?
He could be.
Is he this year's Marc Gasol? Do we make a big move with Houston?
Definitely could be, because I don't think they're too. I know Ime is not too fond of having Sengun on that team. Doesn't fit into that style that he wants to play. So I think Sengun is a name to watch. I'm surprised like Celtics didn't go after him when they were moving around Jaylen Brown, or maybe that just wasn't available.
Maybe the deal just couldn't be made.
Yeah. The contract of Jaylen Brown. I think what we learned too throughout this offseason, this is probably the last point before we head out, is because Barkley is telling us it's time. I think the contract of Jaylen Brown, I think, really threw the media for a spin when they actually tried to get a Jaylen Brown trade done. I don't think people anticipated his contract being such an issue until people actually were looking into it. When we were talking about the Giannis situation, we're like, this contract isn't a great contract for Bucks to have, because how are they going to flip it, and who are they going to flip it to? And they're not trying to win right now. So what's the point of having Jaylen Brown with this roster and nothing else? Like, you're going to be worse than you were with Giannis. Giannis is clearly the better player.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we identified Jaylen's contract to be more of an anchor than it was being talked about early. It's interesting to see just like how big of an anchor it ended up becoming, right? Like it really feels like his contract was the issue, not just prompting the trade, but making the trade difficult.
Yeah, I think prompting it, I think they were okay with going into it because, like, oh, we have Jaylen Brown, we better move him. But yeah, I think the contract really struck them. Like, okay, we really got to get off of this any possible way. I think even Paul George was going to be offered for somebody else, and Boston was like, we'll do this.
We'll take him.
We'll do this instead.
Yeah,
don't worry, guys. We got a home for him.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? But I think that does it for our free agency recap. I know we were going to talk a little bit about the rookies, but we're going to have a preview going into next season. Those rookies will fit into that show easily. We didn't get to see much of the top guys anyway. They played 1 or 2 games, and they're like, you guys are good. We don't need to see much of you guys anymore. So once preseason rolls around, once we see a little bit more of these guys, we'll have a better preview about what's going to happen in the 2026-2027 NBA season. Anything else before we head out?
Summer's not done. You know, still some guys are going to get signed. Still, like you said, like the buyout market's going to happen. There's going to be a second phase of this. It's not going to be terribly exciting, but if you're a fan of a team and you've got like a significant weakness, so like Toronto and now Philadelphia, you know, we need backup centers, right? They're out there. They're going to get found somehow, right? It might be a training camp invitee, might be a summer league guy, could just be like the last available center on the market, right? But they're going to get found, right? If you're Miami, you're going to find shooting, right? Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be good enough is the question. But there's still, if your team has flaws, just believe in your front office, give them a little bit of time. The team that comes out of training camp is going to look a lot different than the team that is currently on paper in front of you. So just even though it feels like all the big work, probably all the big work has been done. There's still going to be some changes. So
still important work to be done.
Yeah, too. Stuff's going to happen, right?
I think to that point too, it's every team is flawed. Every team is flawed. This is the parity era. Your team's not going to be perfect no more. That's just, you're going to have to give up something, unless you're the Spurs, unless you're OKC. You're going to have to give up something to be good. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, their flaws are more like, the second apron.
Yeah, the second. Yeah.
Right. Shucks.
We have contract flaws. But yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the NBA Hangout. You can follow us at the NBA Hangout on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at BJAY93_, and you can follow Dave here when we do our podcast. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Peace.